So the Farbrengen tonight is in honor of Rabbi Berel's birthday. Rabbi Berel is turning the same age that Abraham turned when God told Abraham to leave his father's house, leave his birthplace, to go to the new land that God would show him. Rabbi Berel is exactly the same age as Abraham, so now his life is beginning again, starting afresh. And actually, not again, but just like by Abraham, when he turns 75 years old, his life began in a more dramatic way when he was born. So to Rabbi Berel, this is going to be a year for you, Gesundheit and Freilichkeit, me'artzecha, mi'lardecha, me'savicha, beyond all your calculations of what it's going to be. It's going to be much, be ufaratzta, with bracha, with happiness and joy, begashas ruchnis.
Amen.
Chaim rach.
Work is work.
It's a Chaim also for Libi Bas Rachel.
Yes, Libi Rachel.
Libi Rachel Bas Leah, Shafukre Vashlema.
Amen.
And Fukre Vashlema for Chaim Peretz Ben Basha.
Amen.
Chaim Rach.
That's the bracha Bas Chaim.
It's a bracha Bas Chaim. Chaim Rach. There's a general principle in the Talmud, which is that whatever our sage is established to do, it's similar to the original biblical instruction. But the exception is clearly in the menorah. We light the menorah because of the menorah that was lit in the temple. But the menorah that we lit on this holiday of Hanukkah is very different. It's different in the amount of candles. We have 8 candles. In the temple, 7 candles. We light the menorah when the sun sets. They lit the menorah during the daytime. We light the menorah on the left side opposite the mezuzah. And the temple
on the left side
opposite the mezuzah. We light the menorah, it says in the time of the Talmud, we lit the menorah on the outside of their door, as some do today in Israel. And like you? Okay.
So in the house, how do I do that?
Well, you're a chassid, that was before you started B'nai Tam. Chazanish people do it outside, Chassidim do it inside. We're right now in America. Anyway, so
How they do it inside the house, on the left side of the mezuzah?
The mezuzah, when you enter the house, mezuzah is on the right. So you put it on the outside of your home on the left side.
Inside my home, if I don't have where to put the mezuzah on the left side or
We have time till next year Hanukkah to figure it out. But I'm just telling you the general principles. You did a great job. And you were mahadrim and a mahadrim. Your mitzvah was accepted and is amazing. We have time till next year Hanukkah to get you a new house and a new menorah and a new mezuzah and everything. The sheikh will long be here before that. So these are a few differences: 8 candles, 7 candles, inside, outside, left side, right side. And this is something which is surprising because the Talmud is making a rule that's supposed to be similar to the biblical commandment, and it's not similar. The question is, where does this all come from? We do find many mitzvot associated with the left side, like tefillin is on the left arm. We do find mitzvot associated with the outside, like mezuzah is supposed to be on the outside. And we do find the concept of 8 in the Torah, like the days of Sukkot are 8 days. But why does menorah specifically have all these things? And this is something which is very relevant to tonight, and after Hanukkah. Let's begin by looking at the words of the Talmud about Reb Zera. Reb Zera, the Talmud says, he was an expert in the Babylonian Talmud, but he wanted to forget it. He wanted to forget the entire Babylonian Talmud because he wanted to study the Jerusalem Talmud. In order to study the Jerusalem Talmud, he had to forget the Babylonian Talmud. Usually, when you advance academically, your previous achievements build future achievements. Your elementary school achievements help you go into high school, which helps you go into college. But here, because the Jerusalem Talmud is so much greater than the Babylonian Talmud, in order for him to understand the Jerusalem Talmud the way he could understand, he had to forget the Babylonian Talmud. It's kind of similar to the way a soul goes into heaven. Before a soul is allowed into Gan Eden, the soul has to first go into a river called the River of Fire, Nar Dinor. And once the soul goes into this river, it forgets all the physicality of this world, and then it can get into Gan Eden. But then, in Gan Eden itself, on Shabbat, it goes to a new level. On a holiday, it goes to a new level. And every time the soul is sent from one level to another, to the next level, it has to forget the level before. Just like it has to forget everything that's stored in this world before going to Gan Eden, so to within Gan Eden, to go to the next level of Gan Eden, you have to forget everything at the level before.
Also coming to this world.
In going to this world, there's something that's forgotten, but there's something that's retained. Yeah, it's similar. So there is something about the number 7, which is associated with creation, 7 days of the week, and something about the number 8, which is associated with that which is beyond creation, that which is higher. We know when we make Kiddush on Friday night, we say, 6 days Hashem made the heaven and earth. In English and in Hebrew, the grammar seems off. It should have said, in 6 days Hashem made the heaven and the earth. It doesn't say that. It says 6 days made the heaven and the earth. So Kabbalah explains that the word day means light, because during the daytime the sun shines, and 6 days means 6 lights. Every day of the week has different kind of light. Day 1 of the week has light of kindness, and day 2 has Hashem's light of restraint and concealment. That's why in day 1 of creation, light was created. In day 2 of creation, Hashem made a separation in the higher waters and lower waters. Each day of creation has different kind of light. The 6 days of creation are connected to these 6 lights of Hashem. All these 6 lights are general powers that could be many different things, and they're the words of Hashem that crystallize and make whatever those energies are to become something specific in this world. So kindness could create many things. Water is associated with kindness, just as light is. And so day 1 of creation, the day that kindness shines, Sunday, is the day when Hashem made light, Hashem made water. With the words, Hashem said, let there be light, let there be water. So those 6 emotional attributes and Hashem's speech are all associated with creation, just like ourselves. Emotions are things we use to relate to other people. You can't have emotions that aren't related to other people. Like Abraham, when he wanted to do kindness, when no one was coming to his tent, he felt pain. Why do you feel pain? He wanted to give. You can't do kindness without someone to give kindness to. So emotions are about someone else. Emotions are about the world around you. Emotions are about other people. However, intellect is about yourself. Intellect is something which is within you. You're able to concentrate and think without anybody around. So similarly, if we talk without anyone else being around you, you could meditate and think without anyone else around. So emotions represent Hashem's power to create a reality or a realm that feels like it's a separate entity, a separate, other than godliness, creation, a world. The emotions, the emotional attributes of godliness are about how Hashem's light is filtered in a way that can produce something that feels like it's a separate entity. The intellectual, higher soul powers are more about, just like in ourselves, our intellect is something which is within. So too, when we talk about Hashem's intellect, we're talking about a revelation of godliness that's beyond creation. In the language of the Alter Rebbe said, I heard from my teacher, the Zitchen Maggid, that Chachma, the first of the 10 spheres, the power of wisdom, what does that mean in divinity? That means is, he is alone, there's nothing besides him. That's Chachma. So 7 is associated with the 7 days of the week, and also it says there are 7 planets. Shiva Kochvei Lechet, the 7 planets, the sun, the moon, and 5 other planets, that's 7. What's 8? So 8 is associated with that which is beyond the 7. It is associated with the revelation of godliness higher than creation. 7 is associated with godliness within creation, and 8 is associated with the revelation of godliness, how Hashem is alone, nothing besides him, beyond creation. 8 is associated with that which is beyond, and 7 is associated with that which is within. In order to climb to the number 8, you have to go through 7. 8 rides on 7. So, practically, in the temple, in the Beis HaMikdash, in the first, thank you very much, Avi. In the first and second temple, the harp that the Levites played had 7 strands. The 7 strands means that the revelation of light in the temple was a limited light associated with creation. When Mashiach will come, the harp will have 8 strands. Why will it have 8 strands? Because the revelation of Mashiach is something which is infinite, something which is beyond the world, not just within creation. The revelation of Mashiach is something which is beyond creation. So, in the holiday of Sukkot, for example, the Torah says you have to have more shade than sun. What's the of shade and sun? Shade means that you're pushing away the sun. The sun is associated with the 7 Kochvei, the 7 planets, the 7 days of the week, the 7 emotional attributes. The holiday of Sukkot, it says you shouldn't see the sun in the sukkah. You should see instead the stars. Maimonides writes about the stars that there are 8 different levels of things that orbit the world, And this 8th level, Maimonides says, that's where the small stars are. The eighth orbit, the 8th, what's the word? The Galgal. The 8th Galgal, thank you, the 8th sphere. The 8th sphere, the 8th Galgal, is associated with the divine revelation, with the stars. So in a sukkah, the sukkah is connected to the number 8. And therefore in a sukkah, you don't want the sun, you push away the sun, and instead you want the shade and you want the stars, because the sukkah is about the 8. This is also why the holiday of Hanukkah is all about the number 8. Just think about it for a second. Imagine, over here in the shul, right now, just all of us here, we're going to take on the LAPD. We're going to take on the entire Los Angeles Police Department. That is exactly the kind of odds that the Maccabim dealt with. There was no way they're going to ever reach the victory over the insurmountable odds of the mighty Greek Empire. But why they do it? What was inside them that made them do this? You know what they were called? The Maccabim? You know what family they came from? What family were they from? The Chashmonaim. What does Chashmonaim mean? Chashmonaim, that's the name of their family. Chashmonaim means 8. Chashmonaim begins with the letter Ches. Ches is equal to 8. Shmonaim, people of 8. People of 8. They're people that live with faith in Hashem, with devotion to Hashem beyond logic and reason. There are people that live with the miraculous. People that live with faith. People that live in a different plane. They're people of 8. That's why the miracle was with oil. What is oil in Hebrew? Shemen. What's the root of the word 8 in Hebrew? Shemen and Shmona are the same root. Both 8. Oil is Shmona. Same is also with Shemen and Shmona, the same root. Same is also with the oil they found. What they find? What kind of oil they find? They found the oil that was sealed with the seal of the Kohen Gadol, or the high priest. The high priest uniquely wore 8 garments. Why did he wear 8 garments? Because the Kohen Gadol is about the revelation which is beyond creation, the number of 8. And that's also, when does the Kohen Gadol go into the place of 8? What's the place of 8 in the world? The place of 8 in the world is the Holy of Holies. How does he go there? He goes, the Torah says, with the circumcision. Bezot Yavayar HaKodesh, he's able to go if he's circumcised. Why circumcised? Circumcision happens on the 8th day. The 8th day after our baby is born, number 8. When Moshe Rabbeinu brought the Jewish people to the Red Sea, and they crossed the Red Sea, what do we sing? What was the song we sang? Az Yashir. Then Az. What is Az in Hebrew? Aleph Zayin. Aleph is 1, Zayin is 7. Is it 8? So there is the nations of the world. There is nature. There is creation. And there is 8, which is beyond creation. There is something about their battle that brought out inside of them living with the 8, living with the infinite, living with faith in Hashem, living with devotion to Hashem beyond logic and reason. There's something about a circumcision that a baby has at 8 days old that connects a baby, a Jewish child, with this idea of going beyond logic and reason to pursue a connection to Hashem. And this is why the Torah says, how do we cross the Red Sea? Torah says, Moshe Rabbeinu said us. It was a merit of the circumcision, says the Talmud. In a similar way, Torah says that when Joshua and when Yeshua brought the Jewish people to conquer Israel, there's Az Amar Yeshua. Then Joshua said, let the sun be silent. Let the moon stop in the Emek Alon. What's the idea of the sun being silent? It says that a wise person is silent before someone who's greater than him. The sun and the moon are part of the 7 planets associated with creation. The idea of the sun being silent means there's a revelation that's happening now that's beyond creation. That's something greater. The nations, why is it such a big miracle to win a little battle? Win a little battle, give them the sand of Abraham, the sand of Avram, to throw to spears. Why is that such a big miracle? The idea of the sun shining on the surface, the sun had to stop shining, the sun had to stay shining so they can continue the battle. The deeper meaning of the sun stopping is that Hashem is stopping to give the sustenance and nourishment to those who are anti-Semites who are opposing the Jewish people, and the sun is silent in the face of something higher, in the face of the 8, in the face of the revelation to the Jewish people, which is higher than creation. And this is the reason for all the distinctions between the menorah and that we light, the menorah in the temple. Our menorah is a menorah of 8. Our menorah is a menorah of 8. Why? Because our menorah is established by the sages, by the chachamim, by the tzaddikim. People use the word sages, and they wonder, they didn't have AI, how smart could they have been? They didn't have Google. They didn't have, but I think the right word for us, in our vernacular, to use, not the sages, the wise men, that makes us confused. I think the right word to use is the tzaddikim, the righteous people. We don't listen to them because they were smart. We listen to them because they heard the voice of Hashem in their minds, in their hearts. They were holy people who were just like Moses heard God's voice. So too the sages, their minds gravitated by divine inspiration, as the Talmud says, that prophecy was taken away from the prophets and the temple was destroyed, or was not taken away from the sages. The sages' opinion, the fact that all the sages leaned to one opinion of halakha and Jewish law, is because God guided their minds to that direction. So the sages, the Talmud says, fascinating. The Talmud says you're supposed to listen to the words of the sages more than the words of the Torah. Why? On the surface, is because the words of the sages are prone to be people are prone to be skeptical about the words of the sages, and therefore the Talmud says be extra careful. But actually, the deeper reason why the words of the sages are more important is because the words of the sages are intrinsically higher. They're from the number 8, not the number 7. The Torah is connected to the number 7. The words of the sages are connected to the number 8. Why are the words of the sages greater? Because the words of the sages were given to us to illuminate our path during the exile. That's why it requires a greater light. To illuminate a darker path, you need to have a greater light. You can't illuminate a darker path without a greater light. So because the time of the exile was harder, therefore Hashem gave us a new mitzvot, new revelation that wasn't there before, that wasn't accessible before. And this is why when Mashiach will come, there will be 2 holidays that will be significant when Mashiach comes. There's all the holidays will start to be significant, just like you light a candle in the middle of when the sun is shining, it's not significant. So to Mashiach will come, all the holidays become insignificant completely. Passover being significant, we'll still celebrate it, but won't stand out in the face of the joy of Mashiach's coming. It won't stand out. But 2 holidays, the holidays will be significant. Which 2 holidays? Purim and Chanukah. Why Purim and Chanukah? Because Purim and Chanukah were established by the sages. The sages are connected to number 8. It's a higher revelation. Therefore, even Mashiach comes, it's significant. It's about it. It's from the same stuff that Mashiach is coming from. And this explains also all the differences we spoke about the menorah, that we light the menorah that was lit in the time of the temple. The menorah was lit in the time of the temple. It was a limited light of Hashem, associated with number 7. It couldn't illuminate the darkness. It had to lit during the daytime. It couldn't illuminate the left. It couldn't illuminate the place of concealment. It could only illuminate the place of the right, of the south. According to Kabbalah, the south and the right are connected because, according to Kabbalah, the top of the compass is east, where the sun shines from. So the menorah in the temple was in the south. That's like in a shul. You face south, you face east, and the menorah is on the right. Anyways, so the menorah of the temple is the number 7. It's the right. It's the daytime. The menorah that we light is the 8th. It's at nighttime. It's the outside, because the menorah that we light has connected to the infinite light of Hashem. This is also the meaning of the night after Hanukkah. The night after Hanukkah is actually intrinsically connected to the meaning of Hanukkah. If the whole idea of Hanukkah is to illuminate the outside, is to illuminate the darkness, so when do you start to realize what Hanukkah is? Only after Hanukkah. Because after Hanukkah has officially ended, and you continue with the light and inspiration of Hanukkah, that's what Hanukkah means. That's what Hanukkah is. Hanukkah is about bringing the light to the outside. That's the essence of Hanukkah. The essence of Hanukkah is really the night after Hanukkah, when you're transferring the energy of Hanukkah to a place and to a time which doesn't seem to be connected to it. And this is also associated with the number 11 as well. According to Kabbalah, the Gemara says, if you give someone charity, right, you're blessed. You're blessed with many blessings. But to get 11 blessings, you have to speak kindly to them. 6 blessings, just give them charity. To get 11 blessings, you gotta make them feel good. What's the idea of 11 blessings? 11 blessings means, according to Kabbalah, there's the 7 emotional attributes, there are the 3 intellectual attributes. Then there is 11, which is the idea of the infinite. How can you make someone really feel good? In order to make someone really feel good, you have to really feel where they are. L'chaim Rabbi Yosef. L'chaim Yosef HaTzadik. Let's talk about you for a second, Yosef. L'chaim Racha. Not about you, don't worry. We'll talk about your namesake, Yosef HaTzadik. but also a tzaddik. Baruch Hashem. In this week's Torah portion, Yosef HaTzadik meets his brothers, and he sends a message back to his father, and he tells his father that he is alive. And his brothers told the father that Yosef is alive. Yaakov doesn't believe them. Until Yaakov sees the wagons that Yosef sent to bring him to Egypt, then all of a sudden, when he saw the wagons, then he believed that his son was alive. It sounds like a pun. What's the idea? The wagons? So the Hebrew word for wagons is the same root as the word for calf. And there's a law in the Torah about a calf. If a person is killed, we don't know who killed him. The Torah says a calf is slaughtered. The elders of the city come out, they wash their hands over the calf, and they say, our hands are not spilled this blood. Okay. That was the last law that Yaakov taught Joseph. And so when Yaakov saw the wagons, he knew his son was alluding to him. I remember the last lesson you taught me, the lesson of the wagons, the lesson of the slaughtered calf. But why was this the last lesson? Why was this the last thing Yaakov taught Yosef? Why was this important for Yosef to hear this when Yosef is leaving his father for 22 years? The last mitzvah he has to know about this mitzvah. Let's explore this mitzvah a little deeper. Then we'll know why this is the mitzvah that Yosef needs to hear. Think about it. The guy is killed. We don't know who killed him. What did the Torah say you should do? You should measure the closest city. How do you measure the closest city? You know what you do? Unbelievable. You get 5 of the greatest sages of Israel, and these 5 sages come, and you have to, according to the Torah, you have to bury someone right away. You can't bury someone next to you. You have to bury them right away. So the great sages of Israel, it could see this guy his body is closer to LA than San Diego, at the 2 cities, big cities far from each other, for example, whatever. So nevertheless, you have to take a rope and measure. And you're measuring, you have to go in the sand, in the dirt, in the snow, in the sleet, and you have to measure. Who is going? The greatest sages of Israel. And they have to go and measure, and it takes a long time to measure. They're going step by step measuring. You know, it's obvious, but they have to go and measure. Why? So there's 2 reasons that are presented. One reason is that in order, Maimonides writes, in order to publicize the murder, so we should know that this guy got killed, and maybe someone has more evidence about who the murderer was. And the Beside Goren explains, this way, the city that's closest is guilty. Why are they guilty? Because if they would have put security guards around their city, this wouldn't have happened. So in order to encourage the people of the city to be more mindful of those passing through their city, therefore, the Torah says that this whole thing is done. But there's more to the story. What do the sages say when they wash their hands over the calf? What do they say? Our hands not spill this blood. And the Talmud says, what does it mean our hands didn't spill this blood? We didn't leave the guy without food, without drink, without accompaniment. What does that mean? If you didn't feed him, that he died because you didn't feed him, we're assuming the guy went the whole bottle? The whole thing? The whole thing? Want to take it home? No? Just a little bit? Okay. So, So when someone comes to your house, right, you give them food and drink, you're satisfying their hunger. When you walk them out of your house, you're making them feel important. There's a very big difference between making them feel special. There's a very big difference between satisfying. Yeah, actually, there's different opinions walking outside the door to the courtyard, where exactly how much far I have to walk them. But the Torah says if you don't. The sages say we didn't spill this blood. Why? Because we didn't leave him without food, without drink, and without walking him out. Why is walking him out significant? Because the simple idea is that Rashi says that if you left the guy without food and drink, then the guy probably went and tried to fight with someone else to get food and drink. And he went to fight with somebody, and the guy he fought with protected himself and killed him. That's the simple meaning. That's one simple meaning. There's also a deeper meaning. It's unbelievable. Malbim Yerushalmi is unbelievable. You know what the Malbim said? You won't believe this. You will not believe this. Alex is looking like this. He's going to walk out like, oh, wow. I never heard this before. You never heard this. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. The Gemara Yerushalmi says, we're not talking about the person who got killed. On the surface, we're talking about if that guy was left without food and drink, if we had food and drink, and we had to fight with his attacker, he wouldn't have fought with someone trying to get food. The Gemara Yerushalmi says, we're not talking about the murdered person. The sages of Israel declare we didn't leave the murderer without food and drink. We didn't leave the murderer without accompaniment. The murderer. Why does someone resort to act so low? Where does it come from? We say in America, hurt people hurt people. The Torah says we found a chalal. A chalal is a word that's used for a carcass, but the Hebrew word chalal also means emptiness. When there's a very big difference in satisfying someone's needs and giving them worth, making them feel value, making them feel important, making them feel special. When you give them food and drink, they're the object of your mitzvah. You gave them food and drink, and you're done. Wow, you're so holy, you're so great. You did kindness to somebody. Wow. However, when you walk someone out of your house, the idea of walking them out of the house is you're saying you are valuable. I care about you. When you give someone a smile, you're telling them you're valuable to me. You're giving a feeling of worth. So Torah is saying that the reason this person became a murderer was because he didn't have that worth. And had someone given him a little bit of warmth, he wouldn't have felt that emptiness inside of him. A lot of young people, unfortunately, we see around today, they grow up in very wholesome environments, and they and this one's better. So, let me give an example. There was a guy who came to the Rebbe, and he told the Rebbe.
You're also saying wholesome environment.
Yeah, I'm gonna get there. The guy comes to the Rebbe and he tells the Rebbe that about the situations going on in the city, how he does education for the students, and the Rebbe says, "What do you do about children who can't find themselves?" So he tells the Rebbe, "We don't have any children like that. Our children are okay." So the Rebbe says to him, "Aren't all children our children?" That's what the Rebbe says. I don't know. Aren't all children our children? So what that means is, Yaakov was telling Yosef. Think about Yosef. Yosef, before he got sold into slavery, what was Yosef saying? Yosef went to go look for his brothers. And what did his brothers do? His brothers sold him into slavery. And then he got accused of, and then someone tried to seduce him. He's accused, and because he withstood the test, he's put into prison. So Yosef is hit in the head in the heart in so many ways. And so he is someone who naturally would feel very low in himself, very unworthy because of the way he was treated, demoralized. So Yaakov tells Yosef, "I want you to know how the Torah looks at a Jew. The Torah looks at a Jew, and the Torah says that every Jew is precious to Hashem. And there's no such thing about leaving someone without inspiration, without meaning." So I was saying a lot of young people grew up in wholesome environments, but they don't feel respected, they don't feel valued by their homes, by their families, and because they have this uneasy feeling in themselves, they look outside their homes, outside their cities, out in the field, like the Torah says about in this week's Torah, about in that discussion about the Egla Rufa. They look elsewhere to satisfy that uneasy feeling. So the Torah is telling us that we have to take responsibility. That you have an ability to give someone inspiration, you have the ability to give someone direction. It's not an extra mitzvah. If you don't do that, you're spilling blood, chas v'shalom. Why are you spilling blood? Because the person who's looking to you, if you're not going to give them that inspiration, they're going to go somewhere else. So this is the message that Yosef was given. He should know that he, going through whatever challenges he has, he's actually not alone. He's not unbeloved. He's not hated, but he's precious to Hashem. And this is also.
Wait, how did that give him the message?
Because the Torah says that no such thing as leaving a Jew without food and drink, without accompaniment. Just like it's a message for the elders, it's also a message for the one who is leaving the city. That he understands that Torah is saying to him that people can't treat you that way.
Oh, so you're saying, I apologize. Yaakov Avinu said, Tanameg Larufa is saying, even though I'm sending you to the brothers, I want you to know, like, you're not alone, in the sense like the Shekhinah is accompanying you? Like
in the sense that the Torah says that there's no such thing as leaving a Jew without food and drink and accompaniment, without inspiration. Even if you're not getting it from everyone, you should know that Hashem looks at you as a precious person, and not someone that could be ignored.
So was Yaakov Avinu?
It's a message both to the parents and a message also to the child.
Okay.
Understand?
Yeah. So maybe Yaakov
but let's go deeper.
Yaakov Avinu was telling Yosef Asadik, like, I'm going to be with you spiritually on the way, because he was going. I'm just trying to understand. He was going alone by himself to the brothers. So was he saying like? I'm going with you. Like
you remind me of something. It's a very fascinating thing. I just heard this week. Rabbi Bukatz told me. Rabbi Bukatz visiting LA. He told me an amazing thing he heard from his father. Maybe you heard it before. I never heard this before. When Yosef meets his brothers finally, what does he say to his brothers? Is my father still alive? My father's still alive. So the question is, he knows his father's alive. They're talking the whole time about his father. So what Yosef was asking was, is my father alive in me? Can you see my father in me? And that's what Yaakov wanted to give Yosef this message, that yes, that he's not alone, that he's with him, that 100%. Okay, so now, what allows a person to be sensitive to another person, to give not just the food and drink, not just to discharge his spiritual obligation, but to feel the other person? It's the idea of 11, the idea of going beyond yourself. That's what the Torah says. If you make someone feel good and you give them tzedakah, you merit 11 blessings, because to be able to do that, you have to go beyond. It's like the number 8. I know in America we have chapter 7 and chapter 11. They're connected, but I'm connecting 8 and 11. So bear with me for a second. But before we get to speaking of chapter 7, chapter 11, let's go there. I'm going to confuse everybody now. There's also a concept in the wagon. It has also deep significance about being in a situation that you're not happy with, being in a situation where things are going against you. You'd rather be married a long time ago. You'd rather have a different health situation. You'd rather have a different financial situation. And things are, you feel stuck and you feel trapped where you are. What does the Torah tell us about Yosef, who had the hardest life? What did the message of Yosef told his father? Sent his father wagons. What are wagons? Wagons, the Torah says, are called agoles. Why are they called agoles? Agoles, the root of the word agoles is eagle. Eagle means a circle. Wheels are called galgalim. Wheels are called galgal. Why are they called galgalim? Because a galgal, a wheel, is circular. So a galgal, a wheel, is the numerical equivalent to 66, and 66 is the numerical equivalent to past, present, and future. Hoya, hoya, v'yeh. A galgal is also the numerical equivalent to the word Elokecha, your God. That means when you see your life spinning like a dreidel, there's 4 sides of the dreidel, and it spins. Nun, Gimel, Hey, and Shin. What's Nun, Gimel, Hey, and Shin? The numerical equivalent of Nun, Gimel, Hey, and Shin on the dreidel? Mashiach. Nun, Gimel, Hey, and Shin equals to 358. You're spinning around, but really Hashem is guiding you towards where you need to get to. And that's also the idea of the wheel. A wheel goes down and it goes back up. It goes down and it goes back up. When do you feel you're advancing? When the wheel is going up. But when are you really advancing? When the wheel's going down. When the wheel's on the ground and moving, that's when moving the wagon forward. Yosef wouldn't have been so sensitive. Yosef wouldn't have been so open to the butler and the baker when they came there looking so terrible one day. Yosef wouldn't have known that they're looking terrible. Wouldn't have known to ask them how they were had he not been through all what he went through in life. What polished Yosef's diamond and made Yosef shine was all the challenges that he had. Had he not been through all those things, he wouldn't have shined. So Yosef realized that the things that bring him down were actually bringing him up. This is the meaning of the Torah's words. The Torah says you should be like to a head and not to a tail. You should go only up and not down. What is it, only up and not down? Either you're up or you're down. Only up and not down. Just say be only up. Why is it only up and not down? Only a head, not a tail. What does it mean? It means that when you're in a situation where you're going down, you should know you're not really going down. Even though in our experience we don't like it, but actually that's what's bringing you up towards Nun Gimel Hey and Shin, towards Mashiach, towards a purpose, the whole why of why we're here. The why of why we're here, Hashem made the world is Mashiach. That's the whole purpose of creation. So in order for us to follow the road where Hashem wants us to go, we have to learn from the Chashmonaim, the people of it. Yes.
On that note, it's what you were saying. It's very important for the educators to engrave into the people who are going down that message, because unfortunately society
big time.
Tells us, although what you're saying is absolutely true, I just wanted to add.
Thank you.
Unfortunately, society tells us
100%. This changes your life. This perspective changes your life. It's a life changer. This thing. I want to tell you one more story. Let you go. There's what did Yaakov say when you saw Yosef got the message? When Yaakov saw the wagons, he says Yaakov's spirit was revived. My son got it. Because a different life. My son's living. We think we're living in our clothing. We're not living in our clothing. We're living in our thoughts. We're living in our feelings. We all have completely similar or dissimilar circumstances, but we live in our thoughts and feelings. That's where we live. That's our. It says there's physical garments, but your real garments are your thoughts, words, and action. That's the environment you live in. So Yosef, amazingly, despite all the circumstances that he went through, he always was on the wheel. He always felt he's going forward even when he went down. He was able to see that. Amazing. He was able to see in the place that he looked like he was stuck, how this is actually Galgal, Elekecha. The numerical equivalent of 66 is your God, Hashem, that Hashem is guiding him towards, and Nun, Gimel, Hey, and Shin. The dreidel is spinning. Where is the dreidel spinning towards? The numerical equivalent of the 4 letters, the dreidel is Mashiach. It's going forward towards redemption. We don't feel that when we're going through something, but that's a reality. I'll tell you one story. There was a Jew, Uri Zohar. Uri Zohar is a actor who became a Baal Teshuvah. He became a very, very observant, and he used to work for this organization and collected charity for the organization. Collecting charity, and he was looking at the books, and he saw this one young man who was sending every month, 14 shekel. 14. How much is 14 shekel? $5? $4. Then the guy switched from 14 shekel to 10 shekel. Then he switched back to 14 shekel. Just curious. He calls the guy up. That's like a difference. 14 shekel, 10 shekel. But he was curious. The guy was saying 14 went to 10. Every month it was 14 for like years, and all of a sudden it went to 10. So the guy says, it's very simple. I was in a kollel, and my wife was working, and my wife lost her job. So the amount of money I could give per month, what I had was 14 shekel when she lost her job. So I was making this amount of shekel, and I couldn't afford, so I gave only 10 shekel. All right. Now I went to another kollel. Another kollel is paying me more. So I give him 14 shekel. Okay, fine. So Uri Zohar goes to America, and he goes like stuck up for this organization. I think it's called Yad Lachem he was working for. He goes to one wealthy man and asks him to help this organization. The guy writes a check for $5,000. Uri Zohar says to him, by the way, interesting story happened just now. What was an interesting story? He said, I was in Israel, and I'm looking at the books, and then it tells him the 10, the 14. The guy says, give me the check back. He rips up the check, and he writes a check for $100,000. He said, well, listen, this guy, he told the wealthy man says, this guy, he gave with whatever you could. He had more, he gave more. I give you 5, I give you more. I want to give what I have. I want to give what Hashem, we think the circumstances that we're in are accidental. I want to give with what I have. This is the idea of a chashmonoi. The chashmonoim are people that live with the 8. They walk around, they feel divine providence. They feel Hashem is with them where they are and what's going on inside their lives, and they feel that they're living. They say Moda'ani in the morning. They know they're waking. Why waking up? We're waking up because Mashiach has to come. We're waking up because we're heading somewhere. That's we're from the Chashmonayim. We're the people of 8. So we have to say L'chaim. Say L'chaim. Let's say L'chaim. L'chaim to the Berel. Berel's a man of 8. Baruch Hashem is going to the year of Lechacha Me'artzecha, beyond limitations and boundaries.
Amen.
L'chaim Rebel, Shashas Atzlacha Begashus V'ruchnius, on Agbolas, only on limitations.
Can we say Kaddish?